Welcome to the Almost Above Average podcast, where we dive deep into the world of branding, entrepreneurship, and innovation. I'm your host, Chris McIntyre, and I'm thrilled to have you join us for another exciting episode. In today's episode, we have a special guest joining us. I had the pleasure of sitting down with Lonnie Doyle, the creative mind behind AWFL brand clothing apparel. Lonnie is a visionary in the world of fashion and branding, and our conversation today is nothing short of inspiring. We delved into topics such as branding strategies, upcoming collaborations, and the ever-evolving landscape of technology and the social media in the industry. Lonnie shared some invaluable insights and experiences that are sure to leave you motivated and informed. Before we jump into the episode, I want to take a moment to ask for your support. If you enjoyed today's discussion and find value in our content, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more listeners like you. So without further ado, let's dive into this engaging conversation with Lonnie Doyle of AWFL brand clothing apparel and get ready to be inspired. For that podcast, I'm going to try to watch his movies too beforehand, just to kind of get a glimpse into who he is as a person. Because when I met him, when I talked to him, I didn't even know who he was. He was just speaking at this event and he was promoting his new book. So all I knew when I met the guy was he had a book out. And I was like, cool, I'll talk to this guy about his book. He gave me his book. Chat went really good. And then I came home and Wikipedia him. And I was like, oh, shit, he is super accomplished. Like, I didn't even know.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great connection to make.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the book called? What's the title of the book?
The title of the book is called Chopped.
Okay,
his name is
nice.
Dale Pollock. He was the book is really cool because he told the story in the Rotary Club meeting that I was at. He was it took him 7 years to write the book, but it's a true story about a murder that took place in the 1840, 1850 time frame. And it's really
Okay.
interesting. I haven't finished the book yet, but it's pretty cool. Took a lot of research.
Okay, so he's in like storyteller mode. This isn't even like a biography or something about him really. It's not like a motivational thing. This is him kind of doing what he does with the movies, that sort of thing. He's telling stories
Yeah.
and kind of on the entertainment side of it.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly. And man, his writing, I was a little intimidated when I started reading. I'm like, oh man, I don't really read. He's just very well spoken. Like, it was almost intimidating.
Yeah. You gotta break out the monocle while you're reading
Yeah.
it.
Break out the thesaurus, like, hey, what's this word mean? No, but it's really cool. I feel fortunate that I came across him.
No, he'll be great. He'll be great to sit down with and talk about.
Yeah.
That's good that you're actually doing the research. Some people I can tell in some podcast you watch where someone's promoting a book and the guy's like, "Yeah, the book's great." It's like, "Did you really read
Yeah,
it?
that's all they
How much
say. The book was good, man. I really
did you
liked it.
did you skim through it?" So no, that's huge. It's nice to just be able to sit down and do that, read and kind of
Right.
relax a little bit, get your mind off the day to day, and immerse yourself into the. Is it a fiction book or is it kind of telling a story about an actual murder that happened?
I'm going to ask him that on the podcast because he presented it at the Rotary Club meeting like it was a true story. And reading it, there's pictures of the actual people, but there's a whole lot of story in it. It's like, how do you know all of that? You know what I mean? So I think a lot of it was probably,
Right.
just made up. But the characters are real. The murder was real, and it's really interesting. So that's pretty cool.
I think there is a little bit of that, even if and you see that like movies are like based on a true story, right? Because if you want to make something that's a good movie, write a good book, you have to. There's kind of almost a formula with a story arc,
Yeah.
and you need like you need it to go a certain direction to really keep the audience engaged and make for a really good story. So
Right.
sometimes the way it actually unfolds in real life, you're either doing a documentary, which documentaries actually they follow the arc really well too a lot of the times, but yeah, you almost have to embellish a little bit, or you just kind of have to tailor it to something that's going to keep the audience engaged. I recently did an interview with Billy Luther, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
He's the director and producer for a movie that just came out on Netflix called what is it? Fry Bread Face and Me. And it's already getting insane reviews. It's been out for a little while now, but it was actually really big news that it was going to be rolled out on Netflix. That was really big news at the time, and they were kind of doing a little bit of PR. They had gotten in touch with me because it's a Native American themed movie about a kid in his childhood, kind of growing up out in Arizona, and he was basically telling the story about himself. So they reached out to me because I do some media and stuff for our tribe out here in Oklahoma, and we just kind of connected with the PR, and we actually have our language department director. Her name is Storm Brave. She basically runs the whole language segment of our tribe. She has all these different courses. She has this team where they go around, they compete, they do these skits completely in the native language. And she actually had a part in that recent movie Killers of the Flower Moon, where she was Bertha Bigheart.
No shit.
Small part, but yeah, big deal. Huge break for her. I think a lot of what helped her nail that part was during the casting, she showed that she was really good with the language, and they loved that. So she was trying to create some more opportunities. And I'm like, you know what? I would love to sit down with Billy Luther, and I'd love to also include, our language director in.
Yeah.
So it was just really cool. It was kind of a meeting like what we're doing over video, just kind of remotely, but it was really interesting talking to him because he's actually on the writing team for another really big series that's I forget where that's airing. I'm not sure what platform that's on, but super active. And I was kind of asking him a few questions, and the story was about him, where he grew up in a city in California where he felt like he didn't really belong there because him and his family, they were native. But when he went back to his grandma's house, on the res in Arizona, he wasn't native enough either. So he was kind of in this place, and it was this story about a summer he spent out with his grandma and kind of found his way and kind of helped him identify himself a little bit. And I asked him, I said, how close to that is the actual series of events? Like how close to that is real life? And, how much of that was, kind of tailored to keep the audience engaged? And he said, yeah, it's kind of it's a balance between the two. You have to make sure that and as a writer, he knows how to do it. He knows how to create movies, create shows. So, and he was kind of going through some of the details. He's like, I wasn't really a fan of this band. I really didn't do this. This character was kind of not really in my life. It was just good for the story.
Right.
So yeah, it'll be interesting when you sit down with Dale to kind of learn more about that. And then, some of those topics will be really good to just kind of, because if you ask the right questions, someone will really get them going. I noticed that with Billy, where I was asking a few questions and he would just,
Right.
it'd fire him up to where you're getting really good content and getting really good conversation.
Right.
So,
That's the whole plan. I mean, I have an agenda written out for him, but hopefully I don't have to follow it at all. I'm hoping that I can just lead the conversation into those areas that we want to discuss. I asked his wife to send me over some his accomplishments, and it was like 2 full Word docs. I was like, shit, I'll have to make a separate recording just for his for his introduction.
His accolades, yeah.
So that'll be fun too. Did you record the interview with that guy you were just talking about?
We did. We ended up getting really good audio.
Mm-hmm.
I had a gentleman who was helping out a little bit with the video side, and it proved to be a little bit challenging just with the current not only with the technology that we were using, but it turns out that the copy that we had to use, if we were going to use the video side of it, would have to be sent to us by them.
Mm-hmm.
And the quality was just, I'm not sure. That was my first time doing it. So yes, there is an actual video copy of it out there.
Yeah.
But in terms of all the mediums that we put it on and kind of how we put it out, it was all the audio stuff, which worked out well because most of it's called Conza Radio. Most of that radio show and podcast that I do, actually all of it is audio only. So that was kind of our first step into the video side of things, and it wasn't quite what I wanted.
Didn't translate as well as you thought.
I wish I would have known more about this Riverside, because it was a Zoom call, and I don't know, man. It just, the quality of it just did not. I think it would have been more of a distraction how bad the quality was.
Yeah.
And I know that it was somewhere where it was just, I wasn't far enough along that journey, that learning curve of kind of figuring some of this stuff out, because you go back and look on YouTube, and he did do interviews with some other podcasters and some other people where it ended up being a pretty good quality video. So I'm like, man, there's a method to this. There's a science to this.
There's tons of ways. I'm still like working all that stuff out. Like what I really want, like, I don't want to do it like this anymore. Like I'd rather have a place where people can come sit. and like have a real, one-on-one conversation. But what I don't get, a lot of these
Absolutely.
podcasts have is they'll have several different cameras and camera angles, but I don't know how to get those different, videos synced up with the audio and all in the same. I'm still working that out,
Yeah, it's a challenge, and I know there's all these different hacks and different ways that make life a lot easier with that. I know that that's something else I did because actually, Storm Brave and I, she had to do a couple presentations where it was supposed to be in person,
Mhm.
but it was really far away. I think the weather was becoming a problem, so we kind of scrambled at the last second, and I helped her, sit in front of a camera and do these presentations, and they just played as YouTube links during this event.
Okay.
And I noticed that like the best way for me to get the best quality audio was a separate microphone that I had set up on a mixer, and then a camera that I kind of had set up right in front of her with a little bit of lighting. And at the end of all that, when it comes to me putting it together, I've got to align that audio track with the
Yeah.
video. And it was kind of a challenge to get it right on because it felt like a little tiny deviation
Yeah.
kind of got more and more as it went over time over the course of the video. And that's where I learned about, those where they say action and they slap that little thing
Yeah.
together. I think what that does is when they slap that, that creates a spike in your audio wave, right? And so you find that spike and then you line that up
The other spike.
with your zero on, yeah, on the, where it says action. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That makes
So
total sense.
I think I think that's what that was. But we ended up getting it figured out, and I think if I would have had some sort of camera technology on the camera, which you see people, a lot of these like YouTube people and a lot of these vloggers and stuff like that, they'll have a nice little camera hooked up to their, or a nice little microphone hooked up to their camera,
Yeah.
the little fuzzy thing. So I think that'll create a situation where you're going to download it synced up, maybe all as like one track, right? The audio and the
Yeah.
video. So there's little things like that that are, yeah, it gets interesting. It gets pretty fun.
Yeah, when I go to export these, so after like we're done, I'll have to, when I go to export it, there's a file for you, a video file for you, an audio file for you, audio video for me, and then there's the whole thing. Um, I I'm not sure how to incorporate the separate ones, but I'm sure they're there for a reason, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, and that all comes already synced when you load it into your
Well, when I go
software.
to download, like the download screen will have your audio, your video. It's all a list: my audio, my video, and then the whole thing as one. You can download it. So that's how I've
Okay,
been
okay.
pumping out the audio and video at the same time because it has that option. There's another platform if you're trying to use something like this called StreamYard that is basically the same thing as Riverside, but you can share screen. It has editing software in it. Um, Pretty
Yeah,
easy to do, but I don't use the software in it. I export it and put it in CapCut because I add a bunch of stuff to it. So
yeah. Add some stuff. Yeah, CapCut's fun. CapCut's nice. I've messed around with that a little bit. Still learning with that. I know when it comes to some of this, those like you got Premiere Pro, Adobe Premiere Pro, that's got far more capability than some of these little like CapCut. But CapCut's so easy to use, and I feel like every time I dive into it and use it, I find more and more functionality, little things you can do to keep making it
oh
better.
yeah.
But yeah, I think you know what? I'm gonna send you. Remind me. I bookmarked I think it was a reel on Instagram, and this guy shows how to take one video. You basically take one video, say it's two people talking, like you got a guy that you're doing a podcast with, and it's one shot that has you both in it. And then he shows how to take that same shot. You can zoom in on it through Premiere Pro, and you can focus on just one or the other person. And then you can add that as its own track, as its own line in the
Yeah.
edit in your project. And now you can set it to where it's either a clip of both of you talking or just one or the other talking. And even though it's all from the same shot, it looks like you're like you got three different cameras, right? You got one that's
Yeah.
focused in on Chris, you got one that's focused in on the guest, then you got one that's, that like the landscape shot of both of you. And really all it is the same thing and you're kind of just messing with
That's
it.
Adobe Pro.
Premiere Pro.
Adobe Premiere
Yeah,
Pro.
Adobe, same people that make Photoshop, all that kind of stuff. They have that's their video editing software, and then there's also Adobe Audition, which is their audio editing equipment.
Yeah.
It all comes with their Creative Cloud subscription. Kind of expensive. It's like an annual subscription. I used a bunch of the different little features on it, so it almost is like a necessary evil for me. But
Yeah.
I will kind of, since I have it, sometimes I'll dive into some of these other things where it's like, oh yeah, I've got access to Premiere Pro. Let's check this out. Let's mess with it a little bit.
Dude, I might download it.
And some of those little videos I make for Instagram, it's a combination of the two. It's
Adobe
I'll
and
have I'll
CapCut?
there'll be certain yeah, because CapCut, they have limits on some of your capabilities with audio, right? Like if you have a specific song that you want to mess with,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure, I'm not big enough to get anybody's attention, so I'm sure at some point I'd have to get some of these things cleared. But
Yeah.
like old stuff, like old 90s hip hop or something that I just want a little cut from the instrumental or
Yeah.
something, and I just kind of want it in the background for a cool edit I'm making. You're never gonna find that in the audio options for CapCut.
No.
So I'll kind of, handle that part of it and then bring it back into CapCut and do a bunch of the fun transitions and all that cool
Do you know
stuff.
how I
So
do it? If I there's songs that are not in TikTok or CapCut, and most of the songs that I use are not there. So I'll pull up just the instruments on what do you call it? YouTube, record the parts that I want and the video, screen grab it, and then I take the
yeah,
video, put it in CapCut, and then put what I want over the top of it, and then blow it up so you can't see the original video. I superimpose it over the top of it, so the audio is really just playing in the background, and then my video is on top of it. It's there's probably a
nice.
better way to do it, but that's what I figured out thus far.
So what are you so you're finding your audio off YouTube is what you're
From
doing,
yeah,
and then
it
you're screen grabbing
well,
that.
usually when I grab audio from YouTube, it's because I have a specific song, like a specific idea for a TikTok or something, and so I'll just go grab what I need off of YouTube, screen record it, and then cut it up into CapCut, size it however I want it, and then you can
Hmm.
overlay on top of that, and then you can make the overlay
Yeah,
bigger so it covers your video.
dude, that's a really clever way to do it. Actually, I would have never thought of that. There's another option. There's these just Google it. I think there's a couple websites that do the service, but have you heard of those YouTube to MP3?
Yes.
So you paste the URL for that YouTube video into the little bar, and then it converts that to an MP3, and now you got your audio right there.
Yeah, I should probably have done it like that. That's probably a lot easier.
No, that's
I do things the
I
hard way,
think
dude. I gotta really try hard and
that's so clever though. That's so clever because you find your dimensions. You're like, I'm going to zoom in on this video. I like that, and I think that will have its place. And knowing that you can use that, I think will come into play for some different forms of
yeah,
creativity. I think in terms of audio quality, even when it converts it to the MP3, it's not like the best quality. It's not horrible
yeah,
though, and then you can kind of just cut it up and use little segments of it that way.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
CapCut's great.
So,
Did you see that? Let's look at that reel I made today. I was proud of that one.
oh man, you've been going hard.
I'm proud of
Yeah, that's fire.
that
Yeah, I
one.
like that. That just fired me up, man. I
Yo,
like that.
me too. And I had this other idea, so I took these. I was over at my buddy's house and I had the sweater on a couple days ago, and I was messing around. He's got a mean little pit bull, not mean, just a really nice little pit bull, and the logo was on my right wrist, and the dog was like leaning on me right by the logo. Like it was dark in the room. All you could see was the white logo and the puppy's face right here, just fucking around. But my idea, and I couldn't figure out how to do it in CapCut, so I want to take that. Like you see the logo, the dog's here messing around with it, and then like slowly it kind of pivots the logo and just pops up on the screen, gets bigger and comes up to the screen like it was in that other video. I just got to figure
Yeah,
out
yeah, yeah.
how to do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see what you're saying. Where it kind of starts there, where you see it actually on the clothing,
hmm
you see it on the sleeve, and it's like now you're taking in that view with the dog and the logo on the sleeve,
Yeah.
and then that slowly kind of gets bigger,
Yeah.
moves to the center of the screen, and now all of a sudden you're looking at the actual perfect logo, like
Exactly.
how it kind of morphed into that.
Right.
Yeah,
So I'll
I
figure out
love
how to
that.
do that. I just don't know how yet.
That might be more of a
Adobe.
might be a CapCut thing. It would definitely be a Premiere Pro thing for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'd love to go down some of those rabbit holes and figure some of that out.
It's just fun.
So I like how you combo the music with that, and yeah, just how some of it's so much of it is like cut together all nicely like that. The transitions are great. How it goes into that AI portion.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh man, what's this guy getting into,
Yeah.
dude? This is insane. And yeah, so let's keep collabing on that sort of thing. Let's keep getting good at that because not only will it, make great content for it'll make great content for anything we're doing,
Right.
really, if we keep getting good at that side of it. And
Yep.
yeah, man, that's
Oh, and for
awesome.
like as far as branding, like I like the shirt. So I was thinking of if I had a shirt or a couple shirts, I'd always wear when I podcast just for branding purposes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that would be
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, let's get you some more stuff. I can definitely get you a couple shirts, maybe some hats, that sort of thing. And I don't see why we couldn't collab, and figure out like to where you have your own exclusive designs under the awful, and then something else. I
Dude.
mean, I'm sure we're going to talk more about this. Is you're getting your site going. We're getting your site started. You just got your domain. You're exploring a couple different URLs today.
Yeah.
As soon as we get that website up, there's no reason that you shouldn't have your own, customized merch store on that site too.
Yo.
I can show you how to do it all. I can totally I got the whole supply chain dialed. We can totally get that set up for you to where you wouldn't have to hold any inventory. You wouldn't have to spend a bunch of money up front to have all these shirts. You wouldn't have to
Yeah.
worry about sending them to people or nothing like that.
Yeah.
It'd just be it's almost turnkey. If we're going out of our way to build your website and get that all dialed in, it's just a couple more steps to add that store. So you got, home, about us or about me, contact me, portfolio, something like that. And then, that fifth tab could just be shop,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
it's that easy to just add it to it. So we should be mindful of that as well. Do some collab stuff with Awful, but by the time it's said and done, you'll have more than enough things to be wearing to promote everything you need, man, on a lot of these podcasts and a lot of the content that you're doing.
Yeah.
In terms of, have you messed around with the logo at all, or do you have any ideas or any direction you want to go with that?
Well,
You got the boombox and you got the
yeah.
McMedia letters. Nice.
But I think
So
maybe
that's your nephew
yeah. But
putting your nephew on, man. Hell yeah, he's getting some exposure.
yeah. Dude,
I
I'm trying
like it.
I want to do this whole thing. I want this to be the family business, for my nieces, my
Absolutely.
nephews, definitely my children. So and all my nieces and nephews, they make content too. So I'm trying to figure out where they fit in this overall McMedia company that I'm doing. But
Yeah, and that's something you see a lot of these media companies do. There's people that only operate within the YouTube platform,
yeah,
and they'll call themselves, instead of just saying they're branding their own specific channel, they'll brand more of a media approach with it, to where it has, multiple channels under it, right?
right.
And you could definitely figure out a way to where, you've got this part of it where it's a lot of the content that nephews and kids are making, kid friendly content,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, and that would be
That is
so
part of it. So
cool. A bunch
I
of different
have
directions.
the McMedia. There's a YouTube page just for the company, McMedia Network, and then I have my own personal YouTube account. But I got for Christmas, I got both of my kids brand new gaming computers, webcams, and microphones. So, and the kind of the pitch to them was, I'm going to get you this, but what I do want is I want like 30 minutes of content a week from you and your brother, hopefully playing together. My original idea was I'm going to get you this stuff and I want you guys to pick one game a week, play it together, record it, and give it to me. Like start making content for the company. That
Yeah,
way, when they're old
absolutely.
enough to take it over, they're already acclimated into what we're doing.
That's huge content. Yeah, gaming content is absolutely, yeah, and it's easy to make because it's something,
They're already
they
doing
already
it.
like doing it. Something they're already doing it. Yeah, just hit record on it, and
Yeah,
then you can be watching it and finding different ways, different angles to take with maybe edits, that sort of stuff. And
yeah. I think edits,
what
but
games do they play?
uh, Call of Duty, Fortnite, a bunch of games I don't
The
play games,
shooters
so
and
I don't
stuff are
know.
huge.
But a lot of it
Yeah.
too was like I want them to be like a duo, like almost podcast. I want to bring him into the podcasting thing too. I was like, you guys could have a youth, like a kid podcast based around games, and I swear that would take off. Like, I don't know of any kids doing that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no, totally. Like, and a lot of it's just learning how to, the consistency of it and being so comfortable with it that it's sustainable. So the
right,
easier it is for them to do it, the more sustainable it is, and the more it increases the chances of enabling that consistency factor. So
right,
and I think a lot of it's as easy as just hitting record. I remember on PlayStation 4, I used to watch my girlfriend's kid play, and he would just record different stuff, and I'm like, "Are you? Oh, so you're just recording it right now?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm recording it right now," and then he can just send it to him. And that was PlayStation. So if they have gaming PCs, I'm sure that they can do also, and it's just easy. It's just them doing what they'd be doing anyway, and then send you the content.
right.
You cut it all together.
And then,
If they get like a win, if they do some crazy silly stuff, you can do a compilation of
yeah.
funny crazy things. So yeah,
And there's a
that's
lot, like
awesome.
while I'm editing too, I'll be coming up with things like I see their behaviors in the games, like, oh, you guys, next time you play, try this when this happens. I'll have a little more influence
Yeah,
on the content itself. you know?
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, there's different angles that people take. So obviously, if you're really good, people are going to watch you just because you're crushing it. You're getting all these wins on,
Yep.
Warzone or any one of those games. And then there's some people that they just do funny things, like they'll rig different like helicopters with a bunch of bombs, and then they just wait.
Yeah.
They just go wait in the bushes somewhere for someone to come to that helicopter because they kind of just lay them out throughout the map,
Right.
and you find them and you use them. And then as soon as someone gets on it, you explode it and it's hilarious. And then you get the audio. It does a quick audio cut of the person that got exploded, and it's really funny. Now, in real time, while you're recording it, there are some boring moments because you got to wait forever, and maybe someone doesn't always come to that helicopter, and it doesn't always work out. But if you take the time to put 4 or 5 of those together,
Yeah.
it's as easy as just editing real quick.
Right.
I mean, now you got a really hilarious reel or whatever, and the person viewing that doesn't have to go through the whole long drawn out
Yeah.
process. They just get to see the
Dude,
good part.
game
There's all sorts of stuff like that too.
Dude,
So
have you
yeah,
seen? I enjoy watching some of the game content. I follow this one guy, and all he posts is this racing game where he jumps off of things and tries to either get through a hole or get around something. But basically, it's just cars
yeah,
going off jumps and crashing on a video game, and I find that shit amazing.
yeah. Oh
It's
yeah,
fun
you're
to
just
watch.
waiting. You're like, this time he's gonna get through. He's gonna get
He's
through
like,
that one. He's gonna.
oh, he didn't do it. Damn. But yeah, that
Yeah,
kind of shit is fun. That's kind of the direction I'd like for them to go. But I
there's
can only
so
make
many
it
angles.
so far.
Yeah, and whatever they find fun, whatever they do that they think's fun or funny or whatever,
Yeah.
it's and it's just about and even if the content itself isn't like the best thing ever right out of the gate, it's great to incorporate the whole idea of
Right.
consistency. Getting to episode 10 to episode 50.
Right.
By the time you're to episode 100, I guarantee that you've got some sort of following,
Yep.
some people subscribing, all that kind of stuff. And
Absolutely.
have they ever thought about some of those streaming platforms like Twitch, or
Yeah, they're both on
there's a
Twitch.
few of
They're
those.
both on Discord too. Like they both already do most of this stuff. It's just like get it to me, man. Let's
Nice.
get it out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got a buddy that I used to work with him in Reno, and I hadn't seen him or talked to him for days. And I remember for whatever reason, we followed each other on Twitter just randomly one day. He's like, "Oh, you got a Twitter?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I got one too." And this was like over 10 years ago at this point. Geez, I don't even want to think how long ago. But then fast forward to, I'd say, kind of during the pandemic, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
I'm just kind of scrolling through Twitter one day, and I see this Twitch streamer. Their whole little Twitter account is branded. It's got a cool logo, and you can tell it's like a video game playing Twitch streamer.
Yeah.
And it shows a couple clips. It's a guy playing baseball, whatever the top baseball game is right
Yeah.
now, and he's sharing really funny clips where like he it looks like a home run, and then it bounces right off the top of the fence, and he loses the game. Thought it'd been a home run. and then he's got this crazy facial expression, like, oh my god. And you could tell that that's like something that he has on his TikTok account, but then he also shared it on his on just that Twitter account too. And I'm like, is that no way? And I look a little further, I'm like, dude, that's okay. The reason why this is coming up in my feed is because he just rebranded that Twitter account from ages ago,
Yeah.
and now he's this full blown streamer. So I was following him, watching him for a while just to see kind of how he did it.
Yeah.
And I think, dude, I think that's all he does. I think that's like his job now. I'm like, damn, that is so
That's
cool.
great. I mean, ultimately, I would love that to happen for all of us, for
Yeah,
the
there's
whole
a million
family.
different ways. Yeah, making content a bunch of different ways. Yeah, just keep grinding, keep figuring out what works, what directions you want to go with things, and
Yeah.
the different roles the different family members can play in all this, man. I love it.
Dude, like
I
today was the epitome of what I want my life to be. Everything was in today. Like this morning I got up, went to the gym, and I went to the park and read a book and prepped for the podcast. And then I went to watch my sons, picked up my little boy, and then we went to my older son's lacrosse game. And then I went to band practice after that and jammed out for a couple hours. And now you and I are here recording a podcast. This is exactly how I want my life to go, how I want my days to be, you
Absolutely.
know?
Yeah, yeah,
Hopefully
that's huge.
there's money coming in from one of those things, you know? But
And I think the important part is having the vision, knowing what you want, and having a deliberate intention to the outcome. I think if you know what you want the outcome to be, that's something a lot of people struggle with. Like they have the idea, they have the business idea, they have what they want to start or what they want to try, but they don't have that why. They don't have the okay, well, what does this look like? What does success look like to you? At what point do you know that you've achieved what you were trying to do?
right.
And I'm kicking ass with it. I'm making a bunch of money. Yeah, but like how much money? What does kicking ass mean to you? You have already defined that, and you just gave the most concrete example that you really could, just talking about the day you had today,
Yeah.
the freedom that you had, your ability to do what you wanted, and it never felt like work. You're having fun. You're being creative,
Yeah.
and you get to play that role in your kid's life and be a great dad. Watch them play sports, and that is your goal. You literally said that's the perfect day to
Yeah.
me, and I think that's getting you so much closer to being able to do it than a lot of people that are just kind of shotgun blasting and they know what would be cool,
Yeah.
or if I could have this kind of business, or if I could do this, that would be cool. But you have to cover the whole spectrum, and you have to know what the end game is and what success looks like and what you're striving for. So
Right.
man, I can tell when you're I was kind of, I was a fan almost watching from afar when I came across you on TikTok, just from the awful apparel account.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I saw a video of you. I'm pretty sure, yeah, where you had even mentioned you're like, I just went and got the business license. It's official. I'm just gonna do everything I possibly can to make this successful. And I remember watching that. I'm like, let's see, man, this is
Let's see what you
interesting.
got.
This is cool. No, like more of an optimistic.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that kind of thing. The entrepreneurial thing I love. So I'm like, this is cool, man. Let's check this out. And then you and I finally get in closer touch, and you're like, yeah, dude, I've got this video on Facebook that's done this numbers. I'm looking at some of the followers you have. I'm watching your follower base on TikTok grow like crazy, because I know the magic number for a lot of people on TikTok is 1,000, because I think that's what you need to be able to go live.
Yeah.
And I don't even have that. And so you just over that period of time, I don't even know how long that was from that first video I saw where you're like, McMedia Network, let's do this. Let's see what I can do. I want this to be, and just what you're saying now, I want this to be, me and my family, and I want it to be a media company, and
Yeah.
I'm going to work as hard as I can to, create content, be an influencer, to now. And that's probably only got to be a handful of months, but you're far over that. You've met that milestone, many times over at this point with TikTok alone.
Yeah.
And I know that you're killing it with a lot of these other platforms as well. So I can tell, man. I just, I'm gonna break out the popcorn and just keep watching Chris freaking kill it,
That's
dude.
not true. We're both going to be doing this together now. It seems like we got a routine
That's
going
right.
on Tuesday nights, collaborating on some shit. So there's no reason to
Yeah,
stop
no, let's do it.
that.
Oh yeah, no, this is what this this is my lifeblood when it comes to, grinding and pushing forward and keep trying to,
Yeah.
achieve greatness. So yeah, no, I love this. I'm gonna continue to collab with you. And honestly, like I think that's kind of the game when you're trying to, create an apparel brand. But I can't tell you how many people I've sent, hoodies, shirts, a bunch of different stuff to. And I'd say it was you and really one other person that really went like far above and beyond my expectations, like more than I could ever ask.
Yeah.
And I'd say, easily, 80 to 90% just like, but let me kind of go back to what we were talking about. So yeah, I'll kind of redo that part. So yeah, when it comes to, an apparel brand, a big part of the game is you want to try to send products out to influencers and in exchange for maybe some type of shout out, some type of content that they want to create with
Right.
it. And the vast majority, I'd be grateful just to maybe get them to even send me a picture, much less like put a picture on their actual socials, you know what I
Right.
mean? And you have just gone so far above and beyond where you've done a number of content pieces with that hoodie I sent you. I had another buddy, Bryce, he made a really cool edit. He made a really cool little cut together edit of him like doing some really fun like spray paint stuff, and
Nice.
he put a really cool song to it. And he definitely went way above and beyond. I'm like, man, that was like a full production, like really insane quality of, and it's all different cuts of him wearing the shirt. It'll be him kind of walking through this tunnel, and then the shirt kind of comes into light.
Hmm.
To where my first thought, I'm like, oh, that's a little dark. You can't even see what's on the shirt. But it was very intentional because he gets a little further up and the sunlight just hits it, and it's so sick. So
Nice. I want to see that.
I love that sort of thing. And the fact that you're just so willing to, incorporate a lot of your content making efforts into this and working with me, I mean, I just want to keep doubling and tripling down on that. And like we mentioned a little bit earlier, I would love to do some exclusive collabs with you, ideas that you have, things that, are consistent with your brand that are also consistent with the Awful brand. And it can be your own exclusive collab under the Awful brand,
Yeah.
and that might even go as far as we could do some really cool designs for your band because I've
Dude, I was
actually
gonna
worked with
say that. So
musicians.
before you even mentioned that, like I was at practice tonight and I was kind of mentioning, I'm gonna talk to you tonight, and he's the guy that gave me that sweater that I've been wearing. And I was like, dude, well, I was thinking about branding the podcast first with it, just having, a uniform, basically like a work uniform. This is what I wear when I podcast.
Yeah.
But we
Hmm.
discussed tonight, we're going to start an Instagram and a Facebook for the band. I'm just not going to run it. But while we're, branding everything, why not have an apparel brand in there, for the band, for all our content?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. And I mean, that's a lot of what I'm doing with this platform that I'm building right now, Merch
yeah,
Claim. It's turnkey online stores that feature, customized merchandise and apparel. And when it comes to the whole merch game, that word merch is almost synonymous with bands,
right,
right? Do you have any of their merch? Did you go to their merch table at the show? Did you get their shirts, their hoodies, that kind of
right.
thing? That's literally the name of this. It's called Merch Claim. And a lot of different, organizations, businesses, content creators, Twitch streamers, YouTubers, they're starting to really acclimate to that whole concept of merch.
Right.
They all have their own
Oh,
line of
dude,
merch.
yeah. This content creator
So some
I'm
people,
interviewing, do you follow Hulky Dad on Instagram?
maybe,
You might know who he
maybe.
is, but I'm gonna get him on the podcast. But he's selling merch like crazy. I'm like, dang, he's a creator,
Yeah, yeah, people sell it. And if you really hit that vein to where you got a ton of followers that want to support you and your merch is cool,
Right,
you know what I'm saying? Like you got some dope
right,
designs. It's like it's this formula that just explodes, dude. And yeah, I want to just start being able to offer that because a lot of people don't know where to start. And there are a lot of barriers to entry when it comes to the customized merch game. You've got to obviously get the clothing or get whatever the merch is, And that's the whole, I mean, it's not customized yet.
Yeah.
That's blank. So you basically got to find your blanks. You got to find a way to print those blanks. You got to find a way to organize, store, and manage those products once they're printed. And then you've got to be able to see these orders online after you create your online store. And you got to be able to, so you're doing everything. It's like, no, man, I'm a content creator. I'm a YouTuber. I'm not a freaking,
Sure.
spending 50 hours a week and having to spend all this money. Who knows if these are even going to sell, right?
Right.
So basically, it's turnkey. I got these different price tiers based on how hard you want to go with this, and as you move up in the tiers, you know the aesthetics of your online store get better. The platform that you're operating on gets more exclusive, where some of the lower tiers, it's still on the merch claim platform. And then if you want to get your own freestanding website, then you're kind of growing into that. But Sodi, it's also features revenue sharing. So it's all done for you. Everything is done for you, from designing, from warehousing, from managing the online store to fulfilling orders. So the orders are packed and shipped for you. The customer service is handled for you. You're paying a design fee, which isn't that much, and then it's basically a monthly subscription. You're paying, anywhere from 25 to I think 75 a month, depending on how high up you want to go with this. And you're getting anywhere from 15 to 20% of the total sales revenue. So for every $100 that gets sold on your site, 20 of that's coming back to you on a monthly basis. And when you think about it, after you've taken all those steps and put in all that time and all these resources to manage your own merch, you'd be lucky, especially at the beginning, to clear 20% off the top of that. So it's really this no-brainer thing that I want to continue to grow. I have a bunch of stores. I'm basically operating a beta version of it right now, like a little sandbox version where I have like a couple different podcasts, a couple different content creators. I've got a couple businesses. I've got a buddy of mine that's big into jujitsu, and he's got like his little jujitsu club, grapplers
Oh
club,
yeah.
and they've got their own merch. I've got a guy that has a farm out here, runs his own farm, his family farm, and we've got all sorts of merch and it's funny because, you know, a cool angle on this is not only is this a turnkey way for you to create additional revenue if you want to get super serious about it, but like you said, I just need uniforms for my podcast. I need to have the shirts and the stuff I'm wearing for my podcast. Well, yeah, there's these people that need a uniform solution for their business or whatever. So instead of always having to do this thing where it's like, okay, I got to order these polos, I got to get it, you can have a little store through Merch Claim on the Merch Claim platform where you have your customized logo on Adidas polos. You've got it on these cool T-shirts, on all sorts of stuff like that, and that's where you send your employees like, hey, go there and get your stuff. First one's free when you get hired. First one's on me, but if you lose this or whatever, if you want more, it's on you guys to make sure you're going to get this.
Oh, that's
And
great. That's a great idea.
yeah, yeah. So there's all these different. Oh, I'm sure you've had fun with this whole aspect. School uniforms, where there's deadlines. Do your kids have? Do they just get to wear what they
Yeah.
want to school, or is it a
No
uniform?
uniform.
Okay, so I've had some experiences with parents where they've got to play that whole game where they got to get the right, you know, um, polos and pants and stuff like that. And there's always deadlines because the current companies that facilitate this, they want to get as big of an order in bulk together at one time because they make more
Yeah,
money.
to
It's a price.
maximize their
The whole
profits.
printing game. Yeah, it's a price break on volume. If I order 100 of these, it's this much per unit. But if I order 500 of these, it's like half that much per unit.
Right.
So you're making more off the top. So they kind of pressure the parents and they create these deadlines to where it's like you have to have your order in for how many polos, how many pants you want by this date, and you have to have already, paid for it and stuff. And if you miss this date, SOL, you got to wait till the next time we do
Yep.
this. So that was another really big thing that motivated me when I first started getting into this. It's like the knowledge I have and the supply chain that I've been able to basically assemble and relationships I've been able to create over time, just kind of being in this game one way or the other over the last 10, 15 years. I already can tell you right now that I could create a web page for that store and they could just send all the students, all the parents to that page, and there's no deadline ever. There's no deadline. You can get one today, you can get one tomorrow, you can get 20 today, you can get 20 tomorrow. There's no minimum order, there's no nothing. And that's when I started thinking, and then I just started thinking more and more. I'm like, this wouldn't only apply to schools. I mean, businesses, organizations, nonprofits, events. We had one for a sorority for a little
A
while,
marathon, a
a
freaking
sorority one.
yeah,
Uh, uh, um, a group of girls, they're going to get married, a bachelorette party. They always want to have all their
yeah.
stuff that they're wearing that matches all that stuff. And there's different tiers that can cater to all that. A lot of people like if it's a family reunion, if it's a family reunion, if it's a bachelorette party, if it's anything like that, they don't really care about the revenue sharing. It's not like they're like, yeah, we want to get 20, 15% back. We just want somewhere where we can all go to get the stuff.
Right.
And there's a tier for that. There's a tier for that. That's the lowest tier. And it's basically it's a small cost to set up the store, small design cost. But after that, there's no monthly fee for it because there's no revenue sharing. So you know what I
Dude,
mean?
that
Like
sounds
it'll
brilliant.
just be there
How
for
are
you.
you marketing? How are you going after these schools and uniforms to get that business?
That's still something that's yet to be done. The business hasn't technically launched. It's in a beta version right now, and it's already creating like sales. Like there's sales happening in these little stores that I'm already doing for like a select few people. We're gonna get you into that side of it
Yeah.
too. I'm not gonna like I'm not gonna charge you like a traditional client just yet because I'm hoping to launch this by definitely by the end of the year, maybe last quarter.
Okay.
Um, that's actually what I'm doing right now. Is I've been grinding so hard dialing in this. I'm basically doing a full pitch deck, a full business plan for it, 20 pages,
Dang.
A to Z, appendix. Had to assemble the whole team for it and all sorts of stuff. So
That's exciting though.
it's it's exciting and it's something that dude. I just every time I revisit a certain part of it, it's like, oh, I can say that better. Actually, you know what? There's a little bit of a tweak I can do to approach that a little bit better and make that better. So it's just been this thing where it's revision after revision after revision, putting the whole thing together. I'm getting really close though. That's actually when I get done with this, I'm probably not going to sleep a whole lot tonight because I got to really dive into a few things. But yeah, so it's still an idea that's getting assembled as we speak. That's going to be something fun, hopefully, to look back on if we're
Yeah.
doing a lot of these episodes to kind of watch the growth of it. But yeah, I really truly feel that it's going to revolutionize the custom merch industry
Well, let's mark this.
for
You
a lot
just
of people
called
that
your
don't know where to
shot, dude.
start.
You just called your shot. So we're gonna watch this. We're gonna watch this grow. We're gonna help this grow.
That's the yeah, that's kind of the mission statement is, you know, it should be for everybody. It should be for not only available to these bigger businesses generating a ton of revenues. It should be better available to your small business. Maybe it's a little local coffee shop in a small town that everybody loves the coffee. They love the people that own it. They want to support them any way that they can.
Right.
And if the owners said, "Hey, well, we just introduced our online custom merch store. Go get a hoodie," and not only is there the shared revenue aspect where you can literally start adding revenue to your business model, essentially doing nothing other than,
Setting
subscribing to
up.
merch
Yeah.
claim and letting them set your stuff. Yeah, the setup's super easy, but there's no better promotion than a walking billboard, dude.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You're enabling all these walking billboards everywhere. And another thing that I know these businesses they're gonna want to be able to do is they're gonna be able to want to have some of this merch on site on display, maybe even available for people to buy there if they want to. And there's ways to do that because not only are you getting essentially the shared revenue can also be treated as a discount. You're getting a 15 to 20% discount on this, but on larger purchases, I'm thinking on like maybe 250 to $300 minimum purchase. I'll create coupon codes, exclusive coupon codes for that, to where it's like, if you're really serious and you want to get a few hats, a few hoodies, a few shirts to put in your coffee shop, in your store, to be on display and kind of start the whole hustle that way,
Yeah.
um, you're going to be able to not only get that upfront discount with the revenue sharing, but once you spend enough, now you're getting even that much more of a discount to where it's a real, it's really ideal for you to fill up your store with stuff, and lower risk because you also have the support of the store. There's so many moving parts with this, so many different things I'm thinking
Dude,
about.
that's so great
One
though.
of the bigger
If
challenges,
you only have one of each, like I say, I'm a small business and I like these shirts. We have you make our shirts. I only need one of whatever I'm selling at the store and be like, hey, you like this shirt? You can just go here and get it, right? They can order it
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah,
Yeah, that's great because it takes the
absolutely.
work out of, me, the store owner, trying to sell this stuff. It's display. Yeah, if you want it,
Yeah,
you can order it right here.
especially your one size fits all stuff, right? Like, you got like coffee mugs, hats,
Yeah,
purses, fanny packs, that kind of stuff, backpacks. There's so many different things, dude. All that stuff where you don't need to carry a small, medium, large, extra large, double, triple, extra large in every
right.
color. That becomes a little more risky. But along the lines of the stuff where you only need to have one or two on site, you can almost do what is almost like an exchange program to where it's like, yeah, that's for sale. You can buy that off the shelf from me right now. Just hand me the money, and then you make sure that you go into your online store right at that point and order
Yeah,
another one,
yeah.
right? It's still the same thing. It's
Inventory
still the
control
same thing. You're just
system.
kind of doing,
And the
yeah,
customer
something like
takes
that,
care of.
right?
Yeah.
Low risk inventory
Yeah.
management. You know what I'm saying, for your brick and mortar. And if you want to, another smart thing is to have it for sale for one price on site because that's a little more convenient for the
Right.
customer. If you want to get it for this price, which it's a little cheaper, you can buy it on our online store and it'll get to you, 7 to 10 days type thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's all these different angles you can do with it, and some people don't even care about that. Some people aren't even trying to make money; they just want somewhere where they can go get hoodies for themselves to rep their cause,
Right.
whatever it is, for them and their buddies. And um, they just want the legitimacy of having an online store because just having that resource, having something that kind of has all your cool custom stuff
Yeah.
on there, that makes you seem a
It's
little
a
more
good
legit than the
feeling.
coffee shop down the
And you
street.
have ownership. You're
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's mine. Yeah, I did that. There's pride in that. There's, yeah,
Hmm.
accomplishment. I like that.
Yeah. And a lot of these people, dude, like a lot of these people, they have websites, but their websites are struggling. So the top tier is a full blown website, like I said, with your own freestanding store in your own website.
Mm,
So you're not even on the merch claim platform anymore. And oh, by the way, a homepage and about a 5 page website comes with the online store that's integrated into that site all under the same domain. And I guarantee that that website is going to look better than, this one that you pulled your hair out trying to make on Wix 2 years ago that's all outdated. You know what I mean?
hell yeah.
So yeah, there's a bunch of different ways to do this, man. I'm pumped. And a lot of the hard work's already been done in terms of creating the platform, making sure that it has all the online resources and the functionality, and the way I've basically organized the ability to categorize each different store in a way to where it has its own presence and its own way to link to that exclusive situation.
Yeah.
And what else is cool is I've also set it up to you're looking at one product, but it's also recommending your other products right under it while you're in the cart and little things like that. So
Nice.
a lot of that took like the better part of 2 years to build out. Like the hard part, like the actual creating of the most valuable part, which is the marketplace, the platform, essentially, the that whole side of it, that's ready to go. So now it's just buttoning everything up. User experience for checkout, a lot of that's been dialed into where you're gonna you're gonna choose your tier. And you can see different examples of what that tier looks like in action, a little pop-up window if you want. And then once you choose it, it brings you to the checkout process. During that checkout process, you're basically giving me what method you want to pay for your design fee. And then that method will also be your recurring subscription fee. They don't both happen at the same time. Design fee up front, day 30 is going to be your first subscription fee. Subscription fee is lower than a design fee because this does take resources to kind of get all your stuff dialed, get the mock-ups going, and get the logo and everything on the clothes in the store and build all that out.
Yeah.
Which I'm using freelance designers for that. And I found a freelance designer that he's basically got a team of people under him, and that's what I wanted. I wanted someone that exhibited strong leadership skills and team productivity, so he can allocate his team as needed, and the design team fluctuates based on demand. If I have a bunch of people that signed up overnight, you know what I mean, then
Calling
he
all
knows to
cards.
put all
Everyone get
hands
in
on
here.
deck. Yeah, and it's not something I deal with him directly. and just pay him accordingly. So
That's cool.
that's going to make life easier. And then, yeah, dude,
Dude,
freaking,
in
I could
any of
sit here
these
and keep
things
talking
that
about
you
it
and I are
forever.
doing right now, like what I'm learning is that you do have to pay people. You have to pay other people with other skills that you don't have, because I don't know so much of the stuff that I'm doing that I need to pay a professional, someone that does this kind of stuff, especially.
You are a smarter man than I. You see, you understanding that, that's going to have you way ahead of the game, especially compared to me, man. And I've developed a little bit of a skill set that I'm grateful to have, and I think that it's going to ultimately help. But I am such a I love the concept of something from nothing. I love
Yeah,
that. That's kind of what drives me. If I had to say three words, that's me, and what drives me and motivates me, something from nothing. Obviously, it's not actually nothing, but that's kind of led me down this road where I wanted to learn everything myself.
right.
I wanted to learn how to make the websites myself. I wanted to learn how to do all these little steps, be able to like design these logos, design the artwork, learn Photoshop myself. And I'm grateful to have those skills, but I'd probably be, light years ahead of where I am right now should I have embraced the concept of, hey, let's pay other people to do this stuff. And I'm just going to I'm going to be the visionary, the decision maker,
Yeah,
that kind of stuff. And let's let these other people do what they're good at too. And I mean, a lot of that comes down to resources and your financial ability. And through, I'd say over the last, 10 to 13, 14 years, there were times where it's like, all I really have is internet connection, this laptop, and a copy of Photoshop downloaded on my
the
laptop.
free
That's like
version. Yeah,
that's super old. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And so a lot of the times it's like I mean, all I really do have is me. So I guess I'm just going to learn this stuff and then learn how to build it and figure out how to do these supply chains and stuff myself. But the fact that you're understanding that, like, let's stay focused on the big vision and do what I'm good at. And when it comes to some of these other things, let's let other people do those, and I'll pay them accordingly. And I can show you different resources with that. There's a lot of overseas designers, platforms, Fiverr, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I've gone down the Fiverr rabbit hole many times, and I've made some solid connections and some people that I trust and am happy to work with. So
I've made a
we can
couple. I used a
definitely.
couple, or I'd use one podcast producer just to see what, and I edited and uploaded the exact same podcast. So I did a version and I paid someone to do it. And
Yeah,
what I found is mine is better. Well, mostly because I know
that's what
exactly
I
what I
found too.
want. you know.
That's what I found too. That's another thing too. Or it's not so much better that I'm willing to just pay somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, there have been certain situations where people are like really good at things though too. And as long as I don't have to hover, a lot of times you find yourself micromanaging,
Right.
which I don't want to be.
Nope.
It's like if I'm having to spend this much time to kind of make sure that you're doing this the way that I thought we were both like agreeing on doing it.
yeah.
Um, I might as well just be spending that time doing it myself too. So there is that. There is that. But
Yeah.
as you keep getting busier and, as we keep growing, you'll get to a point, hopefully, where you can afford the guys that it's like, okay, this dude is better.
Yeah.
Like it's no doubt
He
this
is
guy's
well
way
worth
better.
the
So
money. Here you go. yeah. We'll get
that's
there.
awesome,
Dude,
brother.
maybe a future episode, or maybe a couple, we could, if you want, go through maybe like a tutorial on merch claim, and just to walk through it, show everybody.
Absolutely. Show the site, show how it all works to set up.
Yeah.
I'm thinking over the next couple weeks, this pitch deck is due early this upcoming week.
Okay.
I'm hoping that there's enough because it's this whole competition, and I'm starting to wonder at this point because they need a minimum number of entries, and last time I checked, they weren't there. But I'm not even going to keep checking in. I'm like, you know what? I'm just assuming it's all systems go because that's going to keep me honest and buttoning everything up like I need to, finishing everything up like I need to. So I think everything should be ready in terms of like a user can really go on there and just sign up and I can show it how it all works.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the next handful of episodes, no doubt.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That'll be a plan. I think that'll be a
Yes,
cool
sir.
episode.
Yeah, dude. And I need to figure out. I'm gonna start because I'm still on my phone. I hopped on this just from my phone's facing forward with the camera on
Yeah.
me. I'm gonna start setting up to where I'm webcamming from my PC or at least a
Okay.
laptop. And that way we can start doing more screen sharing and start looking at more stuff like that
Yeah.
and start looking at some more designs and start messing around with some of your logos, some of your band designs, and maybe even some merch stuff just kind of in real time. Like, hey,
Yeah.
we could do this, we could do this. Because there's all sorts of fun stuff I want to talk about. Like this, for example, I don't know if you can see it.
Mhm.
This is a hoodie. Look, you can
Oh
it's
shit! I
the
like
logo's
that.
inside the hoodie.
That's on the
So
inside.
this is called yeah, it's on the inside. And the way that works is this is a technology called cut and sew sublimation.
Ooh.
And you know what? Let's make that a cliffhanger before I dive into this. Remind me to talk about that because that's a really cool, fun thing. And I think there's a bunch of angles we can take on some of your merch and especially your band
Okay,
stuff because it's insane the capabilities with it.
dude.
So yeah, let's remember that cut and sew sublimination and how it's done because that's a whole fun conversation in and of
Okay.
itself. And I think that's something that might work really well if you're trying to turn some of this stuff into reels, or if you want to let me piggyback on some of this and I can turn it into some reels when I start creating content for the merch claim
100%.
stuff too. So
100%.
absolutely, brother.
Yep.
Dude, I love it, man. Here we are, another one of the books.
Dude,
Over an hour
we're
again.
doing it, dude. That's great.
We're
That is
unstoppable.
great. So, are you good? I mean, this seems to be a good routine. I'm free on Tuesday nights, so
Two in a row, man.
yeah.
It's going to get to a point where it's not a coincidence.
Right.
I don't mind doing it, man. It's fun to sit down and talk about this stuff. It fires me up
Yeah,
too.
me
So
too. And we're being
let's
creative.
plan on doing it
We're
again.
moving forward. We're moving all of our things forward. I like that, and we're connecting again. You know,
Yeah,
it's been a long time, so it's great. Thank you for listening to
I
the Almost Above
I
Average
couldn't ask
podcast
for
with Chris
anything better, man. I
McIntyre.
love this. I
Special
love
thanks
so
to
many
Lonnie
things.
Doyle, the owner of AWFL clothing line and apparel. We do appreciate it. Please leave a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast app, and join us next time. Have a great day. God bless. Almost Above Average is produced by McMedia Network and Entertainment. All rights reserved.